What's up guys, Houndish here, and today I wanted to jump in and talk about some Destiny 2 stuff. I'm going to be rounding up a few questions and replies from some folks at Bungie on Twitter. This isn't really so much of a news video, although they do hint towards some things that are coming in the future for the game, and there are some interesting points of conversation about various subjects here. So I'm going to talk about a bunch of stuff here. I also wanted to address kind of the state of Destiny 2. It's something that gets spoken about a lot. People keep asking for my opinion on various things to do with the game, and there is this notable shift and change in the community which has really worsened in the past couple of weeks, so I think there are some things to talk about there. But firstly, onto the subjects from social media and stuff like that. Somebody did ask, will there ever be hidden quests like the Black Spindle or Outbreak Prime again? Those type of quests are non-existent in D2 and they were brilliant. Christopher Barrett said yep. Now, Bungie have said, recently that they will be looking to do stuff like this in the near future. It's definitely good that stuff like this will come into the game at some point, although it's fairly obvious that anything like this is going to be locked behind DLC. Personally, I think it'd be cool. It'd be a nice gesture if Bungie could, come up with a really cool quest and just drop it in an update or something. But I think I'm dreaming, quite frankly, right there. And the fact that there wasn't any of this stuff in the base game, or really any of it inside of Curse of Osiris either, I think it's just kind of ludicrous, to be honest. It's something that the community really enjoyed, but it is going to be there in the future. Somebody did ask Chris Barrett, will you be in a live stream with Deej in the near future? I think sharing your process within a live stream would be awesome, and he says it seems inevitable, yes. Now, of course, the most likely place for this to happen will be inside of a DLC reveal. It's going to be interesting to see how those go, considering the 2 tokens 1 blue moment that we had previously. Bungie are definitely going to have to present some pretty good content when these finally come around. However, one thing that I think really has been missing is using a streaming platform, something like that, to actually do a regular update, development update, conversation with the community about Destiny. It's something that across the industry has started to happen in various different ways, AMAs, communication on Reddit, forums, and live streams. Look at The Division, they have the State of the Game stream. Just good ways to communicate with your community. And so far, frankly, it's been an opportunity missed by Bungie, so I think it would be a good move if they could do something like a development update in this format, and it not be, just for an expansion. We'll have to see. There is another one here. Someone said, hey, any chance Bounties are returning to Destiny 2? Chris Barrett said, since any could be somewhere between 0 and 100, I'd say yes, there is any chance. Obviously, a very indirect answer right there, but I think the fact that he gives that answer at all does mean that it's potentially something on Bungie's radar. Personally, I liked Bounties. There was just something nice about almost having a tangible, carryable thing that would progress while you did various things, and also turning it in for a reward or for reputation. It just felt better than the current systems we have. I'd certainly be interested in them doing stuff like that in the future, but here's a bit more of an actual answer. So quick question, are we going to be able to change the armor type in the future? Change it from resilience to recovery, etc.? Chris Barrett said, yes, this is a feature of Masterwork armor. So just in case you'd missed that previously, Masterwork armor will enable re-rolling of the base stats on the armor piece, which is obviously a good addition to the game. I think once again, something that, was missing in the base game was just that randomness in some of the armor pieces. And it's kind of a much less, or potentially less, or currently less obnoxious thing than random weapon rolls in terms of a design point of view. And I'm not arguing that random rolls shouldn't be in the game necessarily. I'm just saying that in terms of armor pieces, running the raid every week back in D1 to get, tier 12 or whatever stat setup I wanted, and to try and get particular perks on those armor pieces on a particular set, it just felt really good. And I think the thing about it as well is that if you were a hardcore player, you could chase that. It just felt like it didn't necessarily upset the balance on either end of the spectrum for different players. So I think there's definitely scope for more of that on armor in general, but Masterwork armor will introduce a damage reduction system for when you're actually inside of your super. I think that's a cool bonus as well. I'll be curious to see if that stacks, if you've got 2 armor pieces or a full set, is it going to actually make a difference? On the subject of returning exotics from Destiny 1 though, somebody said, are there going to be any more exotics returning from D1? Chris said, yes, new exotics are a higher priority, but we'll be bringing back some old favorites too. More Destiny 1 exotics is certainly on the radar for Bungie. There are mixed opinions about this one as well. Some people feel like they shouldn't have to pay for things that they'd had in the past and paid for previously. Equally, some people just feel like we should have new stuff as opposed to stuff we've already seen. There's definitely definitely some logic to both of those arguments. For me personally, I don't mind seeing stuff that we had in Destiny 1. I think there is definitely a place for some of the old exotics in the game, but I think Bungie, really could exploit an opportunity there. When they do this, they need to make sure that there is more new stuff, but also I think that they could look at doing something like back in the Taken King when they dropped, I think it was like 2 armor pieces per class or something like that. It was between the Taken King and Rise of Iron. They just did it in a random update, hey, here's a few new exotics in the game. That's something they could look to do, drop in some old D1 exotics a month or so after the DLC comes out when things get a bit quiet. Either way, they will be bringing back more Destiny 1 exotics. Like I said, I think there are definitely some interesting ones that they could have in Destiny 2. I think the main concern is implementing them and bringing them in the right ways and at the right times. So that rounds up some pretty interesting subjects that, people have spoken about with Chris Barrett. There is another one I wanted to talk about. So Josh Hamrick, somebody asked him, why haven't you shared details of what mods 2.0 are supposed to entail? And he said, because it's super duper early and we want at bare minimum to make sure it doesn't immediately implode before we begin to talk about it. Once it starts coming together in game, we'll be happy to share some thoughts and details. Now, I appreciate that it might be kind of fairly early on in the process. There may be some things they need to round up and finish yet. This was actually in a Reddit post. The point that they made was that he posted this on January 19th, which was pretty recently, and this update is supposed to be coming inside of February. Now, Bungie did previously say that because of the scope of this rework, it could mean that it gets pushed back a little bit, but I really hope that they can get this done and done properly and get it inside of February. And this is where I wanted to talk about kind of the state of Destiny 2, the updates to the game, and kind of where the community's at a little bit, because over the past couple of weeks, there's been yet another increase in kind of the negative vibe in the community, that feeling that things are just not going to change. And this is something that people have mixed opinions about. Whenever I talk about this stuff, I don't want to force my opinions onto anybody else whatsoever. But I think the problem right now, is that we do have news and updates coming in the next few weeks for Destiny. They've been outlined. In a lot of ways, Bungie have improved communication over the past few weeks. But the issue is the updates that are coming and the increased communication isn't necessarily helping as much now as it was when they started communicating much more regularly. And as far as the general vibe goes about the game, I think the problem is that Bungie's reactions are just very, very slow here. Now, if you look at the recent faction rally, people have complained about it, have had a whole bunch of different conversation about the rally. There are mixed opinions once again, but I think one of the things that the faction rally did was kind of scream out Bungie's lack of response, at least in that event, to the recent criticisms. It just didn't feel like it was very sensitive or in touch with the problems in the community and the fact that people were really starved for content. And honestly, my opinion on why we're here, I think Destiny 2's post-launch plan was basically non-existent whatsoever. The focus at the higher end was, let's launch the game, let's get to work on finishing the first and second expansion, let's get to work on the next big year 1 expansion, let's get to work on Destiny 3. That's the impression that's kind of coming across a little bit here, and it feels like there is not enough resources or hands on deck for the changes that are going on right now. And I'm saying all of this as a non-developer, I don't know what's actually going on there, but the result, whether people are just completely pissed off at Bungie or whether people feel that Bungie aren't capable of fixing this right now, the result is that there is no trust in the company. There is no community to develop a trust at the moment. And I think at this point in time, that is one of the biggest things that is harming this game. If all of the changes that we're, slowly getting now felt like they were going to be bigger, if they felt like they were more of a priority, if they felt like they were happening sooner, I think things would just simply be a lot better than they are. So honestly, that's my main opinion and just the vibe I get based on where we are. I don't know what's going on inside of Bungie. And in terms of me sticking with Destiny, and the reason that I'm doing it is because, personally, I'm quite invested in this experience. And I think even a lot of people who don't play anymore are still relatively invested in that they want to know what's going on with this game. Not necessarily even because they want to come back in some instances, whether that's, our individual plan or not. There are still a lot of us who are invested here, and that's why I continue to cover the news content and what's going on with the game. I personally hope that the game is going to improve. I feel like a lot of other people feel that way as well. As far as me having faith in Bungie, I have faith that Bungie can make fantastic content and they could make Destiny 2 into a fantastic game, but I don't have faith in the direction and management necessarily for Bungie. I feel like there has to be a bigger objective here, a bigger reason that all of this is happening or not happening, or is happening too slowly. Those are my personal opinions and feelings about it though. Like I said, I don't know what's going on inside of there, guys. I don't get any information about Bungie or Activision. I'm not affiliated or involved in any of them in any way. So I just wanted to talk about that subject, kind of let you know where I'm at and why I still make the content despite how I feel about it. I am also really passionate about the community and the people that play Destiny, and I have been for a long time. But let me know your thoughts, guys. How do you feel about the game right now? Let me know your thoughts on those subjects we spoke about as well, things like returning exotics, quests and everything like that. I appreciate you watching and listening to the video as always though, and for now I will catch you guys very soon.